In his inaugural speech in 1845, President Polk said the following: "It is my duty to see the national domain extended. It is the nation's destiny to expand and flourish." During the mid-19th century, many Americans' eyes turned westward as the spirit of manifest destiny swept across the nation. Ideas of new beginnings and territorial expansion captivated the minds of many Americans. However, not all of what we consider the American West was owned by the young nation at that point in time. An armed conflict would change the future of the United States and secure California for American settlement. The fate of that conflict would repeatedly rest in the hands of one man. His name, Kit Carson. Christopher Kit Carson was born in Kentucky in 1809 and grew up mostly near Franklin, Missouri. In 1818, when Kit was just 9 years old, his father died, leaving a widowed mother of 10 kids. As a result, Kit quit his schooling to work and support his mother. During his youth, he became enthralled with the idea of adventure. He decided to do the only reasonable thing that a 14-year-old longing for adventure should do: leave. Working as a laborer for a caravan of merchants, Carson traveled to Santa Fe, working for many following years as a trapper. In 1842, Carson returned to Missouri. On his trip back, he coincidentally met a man named John C. Fremont, a soon-to-be famed explorer. The random meeting would change American history. Kit Carson's knowledge of the frontier made him a perfect candidate for an expedition for which John C. Fremont was about to embark. This mission, which would promote Fremont and Carson as a leading frontiersman, was to survey the Oregon Trail. During this successful trip, a new friendship was forged between the two that would lead to many future expeditions. The two had great adventures. John C. Fremont said during one of their two following trips, "We had accomplished an object of laudable ambition, and beyond the strict order of our instructions. We had climbed the loftiest piece of the Rocky Mountains, and standing where never human foot had stood before, felt the exultation of first explorers." They even explored the Salt Lake area. Once they decided to row to an island off the shore of Salt Lake under perilous conditions. In Carson's own words, John C. Fremont arranged the India rubber boat. Myself and 4 others accompanied him. We landed safely. We ascended the highest mountain and under a shelving rock cut a large cross, which is there to this day. Next morning started back. Had not left the island more than a league behind when the clouds commenced gathering for a storm. Our boat, leaking wind, kept one man continually employed at the bellows. Fremont directing us to pull for our lives, telling us if we did not arrive on shore before the storm commenced, we will surely all perish. We done our best and arrived in time to save ourselves. In an hour, the waters had risen 8 or 10 feet. All these adventures would lead to an expedition that would culminate in the Bear Flag Revolt. During the time of Carson's and Fremont's expeditions, tensions between the United States and Mexico ran high. These tensions were especially strong after the United States annexed Texas in 1845, and tensions turned to war in 1846. President Polk, as quoted earlier, was an avid supporter of westward expansion. During many occasions, President Polk would employ several less than ethical means to acquire this much-wanted land. For example, President Polk had a new mission for Fremont. Under the guise of a scientific survey, John C. Fremont was to traverse the Wild West with a regiment of soldiers and incite a rebellion in California. This would, President Polk hoped, accomplish his dream of a land that stretched from sea to shining sea. Arriving in California in the spring of 1846, Fremont and his band began to incite rebellion. In June 1846, Americans captured the fort of Sonoma, hoisting a flag depicting a bear. It was known as the Bear Flag Revolt thus forward. Fremont took control of the revolt, and they worked their way down California, taking over poorly defended forts along the way, reaching San Diego and Los Angeles in the following months. With excitement of the conquest running high, Fremont sent Kit Carson back to President Polk with the news of their success. There was but one problem: the quickest way crossed thousands of miles of unforgiving desert. Determined to deliver the good news, Kit Carson began the perilous journey. After hundreds of miles, Kit serendipitously ran into General Stephen Kearny. Kearny had also received orders from President Polk concerning the overtaking of California, and, desperate for a guide, commanded Kit Carson to return to the hundreds of miles he had just traveled to guide Kearny and his army to San Diego. Around this time, a Mexican army, larger than had previously occupied California, re-entered Los Angeles, where John C. Fremont was, and retook the city, jeopardizing the acquisition of the newly won California. On the way to San Diego, General Kearny's army, led by Kit Carson, encountered another Mexican army. They engaged in battle about 30 miles from San Diego. This is known as the Battle of San Pasqual. During the battle, Kit Carson performed better than some of Kearny's own men, but it soon became clear that the Mexican army was much better prepared and armed, leaving the American army crushed and surrounded. A discouraged American army discussed their options and determined that the only hope was for a couple of men to sneak through enemy lines and call for reinforcements in San Diego. Again, Kit Carson volunteered. In a daring move, Kit Carson, along with Edward Beale and an Indian guide, removed their shoes and crawled through enemy lines. Kit Carson, when asked about this night, said the following: "Finally got through, but had the misfortune to lose our shoes. Had to travel over a country covered with prickly pear and rocks barefoot." They reached San Diego exhausted. Thanks to their miraculous escape, reinforcements traveled back to the battlefield of San Pasqual and drove out the Mexican army. With the help of General Kearny's army and the regrouping of Fremont and his people, the two armies converged on the remaining Mexican army, and California was again in possession of the United States. In the following years, California was officially admitted as a state. Today, it is a thriving state and contributor to the United States of America. For the acquisition of California at that time, one man played a critical role: Kit Carson.